Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another week of Teaching Tuesday. I am Natasha. I'm the director here at Raise Your Hands. The reason why, as organizers or forever parent organizers, that we decided to host this space on a weekly basis, or I would say really as needed. Sometimes we have the feeling like, oh, we need a break. So I think you all saw we took a break during spring break. So to the best of our ability, whenever it makes sense for us to join y'all in this virtual space to have a conversation, we'll do that. So Tuesdays meet here. This is also in alignment with what you might see on our social media. If you are signed up for our email listserv, you'll get weekly or bi weekly newsletters from us. But we wanted this space to be an extension of that because if you are on the go, you are more likely to be able to hear my voice, to hear our voice, Kendra's voice, the team's voice, our guests who are on to talk about what we think is relevant around what's happening around Chicago public schools. And so, where you can't read through a document or a newsletter, we want to bring some important topics to this space. And we really highlight democracy, equity, parents as decision makers, and really want to challenge the district to be better, right? To serve our families better. And we know that there's an incredible amount of harm that needs to be repaired. And so we do this in the lens of really ensuring that parents have the knowledge that they need to feel empowered to go to the school, to engage the district for policy and decisions that help make their child, Chicago's children, best at school. So I'll pass it over to you, Kendra, to an introduction.
Hi, I am Kendra, parent organizer here at Raise Your Hand. The same with Natasha. We just get on here to help our parents feel empowered. I know once I was one of those parents that didn't feel empowered or that didn't know. And it's just small things that you can hear and that you know, we hear it first. So we want to let y'all hear it too, or let y'all know what's going on as well. So thank you all for joining us today.
Yes, where should we start? Let's I mean, we have a nice, I would say, run sheet of what we want to talk about today, but first we really are in a celebratory mood because just this past week we have a new slate of parents, community members, students, educators, non-teaching staff that are now newly elected LSC members. So definitely want to just say congratulations to you all. Hope you stay connected. If you aren't already tapped in, Raise Your Hand has a email Google group where LSC members, some 600 LSC members from across the city, engage with each other and talk around policy, supporting each other where it comes to the mechanics of meetings, what's allowable, what can they do, and other best practices. So we invite you to join us. You can do that through our website on ilraiseyourhand.org. Let's see, Kendra, should we jump into the LSE process and where it is right now? I know we've been talking about LSC elections throughout this process. Want to give everyone an insight into the process and how you can participate. So I'm going to put another graphic up on our screen. And then Kendra, can I pass it over? Let me hand it off to you if you want to cover what's on the screen.
I'm sorry. Sure. So Thursday, um, I'm sure that it's some LSCs, some things that happen, even with myself, that need to be challenged. Sometimes some people didn't make it on their LSCs because of something that might have been a little shaky, or you know, or if you've seen things that wasn't too I don't want to use the wrong words, but wasn't right. So to Thursday is a special day, and that is the post-election challenge day as well. That's special too. You got to have those challenges in by 5 p.m. Um, and of course, the newly elected term will start in July. Um, I don't know what day school lets out, but those that meeting normally happens a couple of weeks after school is let out. So that'll be the time where you go and you do your organizational meetings. And yeah, those are the newest things coming up. But don't forget that Thursday, April 18th, is the post-election challenge. If you feel you need to challenge that, make sure you do it by 5 p.m. April 18th. I think that's it for what's coming up right away, Natasha.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add really quickly to what you already shared, Kendra, is that we're dropping in the chat the post LSC election challenge form. And, if you aren't already familiar with this form, um, like I said, we really just want to drop it in the chat. So there's a English version that we are dropping in the chat, and then the district also has a Spanish version um, that will be able to give folks the understanding of what they need to do to be able to file those challenges. I was actually just thinking if I should just share my screen on that to give folks, huh?
Just to go over it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I will stop sharing this screen and then we'll go over to present my screen. Give me just a moment. So you should see on my screen is the Form 2124. It's the post-election challenge form that Kendra was just talking about. It gives you the process of, each petition must be placed, must be filed for each candidate or election that's challenged. So if there are multiple candidates that would like to challenge an election at the same school, you would use a different form. So whether you, depending on your role, you would put what your role, whether you're a parent or community, um, educator or non-educator from the staff poll, or whether it's a student election that you are challenging. Now, there could be a variety of reasons. What we hope is that at your school, it was a, above reproach election. We just know from the outreach and people that have reached out to us that we know that that wasn't the case at every school, unfortunately. So if you feel like there was something squirrely or didn't align with the guidance or fair election or with integrity, the form that you have available to you in the chat is the best way to be able to get some reprieve. In previous elections, I had participated in challenge sessions with candidates, and as long as you have straightforward, time stamped, if on or about April 10th, I observed ballots being withdrawn from the ballot box. This was observed by, and then there's an opportunity for those who may have witnessed it to submit or certify that they're a witness to the injustice, or again the lack of democracy that might have happened at your school or polling place. So again, the deadline to do this is tomorrow by 5 p.m. So just wanted to make sure if you haven't already seen this form or know what the
Not
process is
tomorrow.
like. I'm sorry. Please correct me. Please correct me.
Thursday by 5 p.m.
Thank you. All right. So again, that form is in the chat, both a English and Spanish version. Um, Let's talk a little bit about, speaking of the LSC election process. Kendra, I know we, as part of, if you all don't already know, civic organizations that have an interest in education, or if you do a service providing, service, whether you are, you know, a nonprofit organization that either supports your school, has a relationship to your school, your CACs, you can request poll watcher credentials. Just as candidates got poll watcher credentials, raise your hand. We requested and got those credentials for schools across the West and South Side, schools that LSC members had asked us to come to, or parents have asked us to support, and also schools that we have in high interest, right? Whether there's a disparity in access and transparency, there's been persistent vacancies. We wanted to be able to go out and observe those processes. So, Kendra, I mean, like, it was a lot. It was a mixed bag. I
It
had some
was.
good experiences, and I also saw some things that if I were the election coordinator, I would pause to do training, like close the poll temporarily to do some training on the spot. Was that your experience?
I would say no, no knock at the training, but absolutely knock at the training. I'm sorry. And the worst experience I got was that the schools were not notifying people about the election. You know, when you go in, and this is typically what we get in the schools anyway. You know, they gonna give you at least the least information that they possibly can, and they literally were like, you know, where you go pick up a report card. They were not even mentioning the LSC election. In almost all the schools that I went to, I asked, where do you vote? Where's the LSC elections? And then was told, but no, that information was not offered. It was not posted. Um, that resorted to me and low votes, low participation in the election. If we looked at the numbers of the amount of people that voted, if you get a school with 400 kids, there's no way that there should only be 10 votes taken. I mean, that just showed that they did that the lack of information is still, and we have been fighting this battle about LSCs for years about the lack of information. So that was that was the main thing that I seen. I observed some, say weird, but like the funniest one was a lady walked up to one of the judges and she was like, "Where your kid report card?" And I was like, "Hi, it's still with the teacher or whoever." But they that's how they, I guess, gave, it was okay if you had a report card that meant you were able to vote. So that was the first thing asked. Although I was the parent who, or the person, community person who wanted to vote first before I seen the teachers. So yeah, that was a thing. Whew, I've seen a lot of stuff that could actually be challenged. I seen, forget the word that you call it. Is it electioneering? Near the door. That was a thing that especially people who had that were running slates. Um, you seen people not in correct spaces for that. You can ask them like, you're not supposed. Of course, I said that, and they were like, and who are you? So that was a thing. I just noticed a lot of things that if the training was done correctly, I think we would have had a better outcome. I think if the schools were more welcoming and given the information, that it would have been a bigger uh, turnout on elections because people, they were there, they were at the school, they were absolutely picking up report cards. It wasn't like the participation on the report card pickup wasn't there. It was just literally that they were not telling people about the LSC elections. That's not, I mean, that's not cool at all. Yeah.
Yeah, in my similar experience, I didn't observe a school have the cones or the markers out that tell folks that you have to, if you're going to elect, campaign or canvas, catch people to having, engage in conversations as people are entering the building. The rule is 50 feet from the main entrances, right? So most schools, well, I would say most, some schools that I observed did that. They put those cones out or a ribbon out that says, no electioneering beyond this point. But by and large, the schools that we, went to and observed across, particularly across the South Side, did not have that marking, which puts candidates in a precarious situation, right? Someone could challenge that election had the school, done some of its due diligence. And I don't know where the process gap is. Maybe this is training or just a lack of sharing information on behalf of the district. But there seemed to be, in general, lack of adequate training for election judges as well. So not just having the cones out. When I went to vote at a neighborhood high school, because I can vote at 3, one of the judges were leaving at like 6:30.
Hmm.
I caught them as they were. When I say caught them, I, was pressing the buzzer. Security says, "What are you here for?" I'm like, to vote in the LSC election. So the ladies that were leaving the school was like, "Oh, we have to come back and let you vote."
Like,
They huffed and puffed, but they did allow me. They pulled everything back out, adjusted the numbers, and let me vote again. Whether this is an LSC election or a municipal or federal election, you cannot close the polls before closing time. 7 p.m. is what is advertised. 7 p.m. is what should be expected.
and they
Um,
should be there when they say that was a thing too, that they were not ready for people like the early birds. Some people actually want to come vote at 6 o'clock in the morning,
right.
and they were not available.
So that's an issue around, again, if you we've linked in previous weeks the LSC election guide. It tells you what we should expect. And so we aren't asking for much other than to follow policy that allows the public who, like you said, those who go to vote before work, because they know they couldn't make it before 7. They were disenfranchised to not be allowed to vote. You know, and so in times like that, we are preparing a report, but we also want to hear from folks what your experience was like. So we dropped in the chat a survey, whether you voted or did not vote, right? Whether you didn't know that you can vote. We want to get your feedback, and share with us. So we have a LSC election survey. We really want to hear from you. Again, it's in the chat, whether you are joining us on Facebook and YouTube. And on Twitter, we will, after we wrap here, we'll get that dropped in the comments to this video. We really want to know if you were able to vote, if you went to vote and something was squirrely. Listen, we posted on our social media, Kendra. I don't know if you saw this one. I think you got the call too, where someone went to vote at their school and they were told they could only vote for one parent
Yeah.
and one community member, which was a clear misinterpretation of the policy and the guidance, which talks about essentially you can vote for one person, one vote at a time, or one vote per each person on one ballot for up to 5 votes.
Now
Um,
that's just lack of training.
mhm.
I mean, if all the judges that sat there agreed with that, like, now who told y'all that? Like, where did you really get that information from?
Yeah.
And even if you just go back to policy, like, you can read it. It's in black and white. Yeah, that was.
And I think one of the other ones that was, really confusing is election judges feeling that I guess there was an issue that we had asked some of our legal peers to help us discern around poll watchers, candidates who are poll watchers, or community members who are acting as poll watchers, that the election judges weren't really familiar with their role, and took steps to remove people from the polling place. Again, just not landing with the guidance, and really puts, the process where people start to challenge, like, okay, well, why are you putting me out? Is there, it drives doubt about the process, the fairness of the process, when, again, had that been a judge that was fully trained or adequately trained, we might not have seen that happen.
That's unfortunate that that happened. And again, that was even like when people, and I don't know if we should speak on this, but not knowing the process of even allowing someone to be a poll watcher. So
Oh,
that just speaks unto the inadequate training, because if you don't know yourself, how could you? I'm trying to use the best, um, the most professional words, but yeah. So the lack of knowledge is just, it's unfair. Um, I'm thirsting for the day, and thirsting might not be a word, but I'm thirsty for that day when like it just all makes sense. Like if you just read and follow the guidelines, it's the first step to it. You know, of course, that just gives you the clean cut of what's supposed to happen, and of course, they're not going to give you and go into depth of what really happens and how to navigate around it. But it's still, the training has to be done correctly somehow. Thank God we offer that training.
that's right. And so, just as a reminder, I'm also going to drop here in the chat. This is a link to the election guide, in case you just want it popped up for your use. Again, after you have voted, perhaps there's something that you want to go back and verify if the process was fair. So, also dropping here, or just if you have general questions, like, okay, I went out and voted, this is what I observed, felt a little off, but you're not sure. Use that link in the chat. That's to the LSC election guide. So essentially, it's like the City of Chicago Board of Election rules for participating in voting. So everything that is in that guidebook should have aligned with your experience on April 10th or 11th.
Strong emphasis on the should.
Yeah.
But we're gonna
Let's,
get there one day.
yes, we are. Let's pivot to talk a little bit about the um, vacancies, right? We know that the elections have come and gone, and for a myriad of reasons, that we understand, and just talking to parents and community and the young folks around, why aren't you participating? We know you care. We see you at the meetings. We're trying to have conversations with folks about participating in this process, and oftentimes we hear a very mixed variety of why folks, don't feel welcome in the school. Kendra, you talk a lot or share a lot with us about what you get from parents and the tension they feel, and particularly to make them feel less welcome to, one, run for LSC and participate in school meetings. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, it's really, even before raise your hand, that was concerning to me. Um, the lack of, I always talk about back in, I've been a mom for a really long time, and just the difference of how things went back in the day. And when you had that parent participation in the schools, and you had, and I wasn't one who was real keen on LSCs, but I was a parent in the school. And I wasn't on the council, but I did attend the meetings. And um, just, years later of learning the power that the parents have. And we don't want to sit around and like beat our chest like, this won't happen without us. But that's the truth because it's our kids. So, I mean, you don't have to beat your chest about it, but the reality of it is they wouldn't have a school if our kids didn't go there. It wouldn't be a thing. Like, so um, it's the welcome is definitely not there. And I've observed that not in just the school that my kids go to or my grandson go to, but go. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving my children in a place where I didn't know what was going on for 6.5, 7 hours a day. And I don't think no parent should. And we don't always have that time to, spend hours and hours. But if you at least attend the LSC meetings or the PAC meetings, then you can be a little informed on what's going on. And you might not get that warm, welcoming feeling when you go into school. I still smile and say good morning because I feel like good morning goes a long way, or good afternoon when you're going into a school. But you might not get that back, but it's still you're not getting that. But you also leaving your kids in the school for this amount of time per day. Um, um, I'm sorry, y'all. Um, the biggest thing for me with um it's like being a mom of so many of a village, and not just the mother of my kids, but like when the parents are involved, things were different. Back in the day, your kids. I actually, bringing this up. I was asked a question today. I was interviewed by a student at Yale, and he asked me how did I know about, we were talking about selective enrollment and things like that. And I told him, like, my kids didn't get into those schools because of me. Those kids got in, not, it wasn't anything special I did other than being a mom. And years ago, I was in the schools. I was in the schools with my kids. They knew what was expected. Of course, you kind of don't do certain things with your mom, and the kids just do better when the parents are in the schools. Like research shows that those parents that are involved in the schools, kids do better academically. It's just a known fact that it happens that way. And it just was a thing. I got 5 kids who all went to very good schools and did very well. But I was also that mom that was there. I helped in the classrooms. I made copies. I helped in the pre-K and the kindergarten classes. And although it might not even been their classrooms, they knew that my mom's face was in the school, and it just really, really molded them differently. And that interview is just for him to bring that up today was a thing. Like, well, how did you? And that's where I came from with it. So I encourage parents to go into schools, go to those local school council meetings. They make you fill out a volunteer form now, but do that. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to do that form so that you can be there, and then you will know when the meetings are coming, and when, and then we can get those. What we was gonna speak on next is those vacancies filled. In the schools, we didn't have. In these schools, a lot of schools, they don't have full LSCs, and we can show you all that in a minute. That is 6 parents, 2 community reps, and if those spaces are not filled, those vacancies are not filled, you can join. You can go in and literally be in a meeting after. I think they have to do it after the organizational meeting, and in that organizational meeting, just in public participation, talk about who you are, talk about why you're there, and then ask for that seat. Somebody will nominate you there. Um, Natasha, I can't really see this screen. I mean, I can't. Yeah, I can see it, but it's very small. I don't have glasses on today.
Oh, I wonder if I can. But when I make it bigger, does it take away? Okay, so let's just talk about maybe for the sake of conversation, we should sorry y'all, this isn't the best view. So Kendra, if you can't see it, there's probably a lot of folks out there that are struggling to see this. I apologize with the size. If I feel like if I scale it out, we lose a little bit of what we wanted to show here. So this is the 2024 LSC election map. This shows, so for the schools that held elections, looking at this number here, there were 508. Of those, 155 have their full complement of an LSC. So if I were to click on the satisfied of those 155, you'll see that they had a minimum, or the minimum, of 6 parents and 2 community members who ran in their LSC election. Right? You can see by these green tabs where those schools sort of scatter across the city. Um, when I click on this available tab, or what's coded as red, is the schools across our city that will have, unless there's some change or an election challenge, or just, some other change that might happen that isn't already reflected here, these are the schools that will have, or that have, a vacancy. So they either had less than 6 parents running, or less than 2 community members. So, as an example, we focus pretty well focused. We support parents across the city, of course, but particularly where it relates to LSC, we focus on the south and west side. Kendra, I know there were a couple of schools that you wanted to highlight for me to click on. What were they?
Um, let's start with Harvard and see if they filled their vacancy.
I don't know if you can see that. If it's hard to see, I can.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Okay. Let me see if I can. No, it doesn't seem to get much bigger. Okay, so at Harvard, which of course is on 75th and Harvard, in Auburn Gresham, right? They had 5 of 6 parents, so they'd have one parent. They'll have one parent vacancy, and they had one of 2 community reps, so they'll have also have one community vacancy. So Harvard's next LSC meeting is tomorrow. But how this goes is, this is for the 2024 2026 LSC, um, you know, tenure, if you will. So when this LSC meets for their organizational meeting in July, they can vote to accept a parent rep and a community rep at any of their monthly meetings as of July going forward. This is not a reflection of the current LSC. So, they have an LSC tomorrow. If you're a candidate, or excuse me, a community person in the Harvard boundary, which you see here, highlighted on the screen, if you happen to be in this boundary, you can go to the LSC meeting tomorrow just to hear what's going on at Harvard. If you're interested, you can communicate that to the school's principal and let them know that you're interested in filling that community seat in July, once the newly elected LSC takes their seats. I know you have mentioned another school, which was Finger. Do you want to talk about a little bit about Finger? I'll highlight where they are, and then you could talk a little bit about it. Um, Finger had no parent candidates, and they had one community member run. Now, they did have students So they'll have two student reps of the three since it's a high schools. Remember, high schools have three student reps. Elementary or K through 8 schools have one student rep that serves in the 7th and 8th grade. So again, at Finger, they had no parent reps and one of two community seats filled.
So this is something that I really hate to say out loud, but it's the truth. Finger don't have parent reps because Finger didn't want parent reps, and that's another thing that goes into not having a functioning LSC. I actually ran for a seat as a community rep, and I am one of those who have to do a challenge tomorrow because of that reason. I was told at Finger that they have not had a functioning LSC in 13 years. And in conversation, I asked, like, well, why? Because we know that it's students that go there. So um, I'm sure there's parents that are there. And they did not, they do not encourage parents to join this local school council. And I can't give the reasons why, but I just know for a fact that it's something that they are absolutely okay with just going along to get along. Like this election was just a formality for them. It was just like, I'm just here so I don't get fired type thing. And it's unfortunate. So I want to encourage parents to join Finger Local School Council. I want them to go to the meetings. It's a school full of students. You see the students walking up. It's a neighborhood high school. The students from the community are actually attending this school. So yeah, it's a thing where it was very disappointing to hear staff members say that and being okay with it. Even after I challenged of why my name was removed. I was told, um, I was told that I wasn't uh, in the boundary, and I am. Um, it was just a thing. So because of that, because I just won't just sit back and take that, I'll be canvassing and to engage Finger parents. Um, I'm going to do canvassing to talk about the local school council and the things that's going on. And this is Finger's not the only school that myself or the staff at Raise Your Hand, we're going to get out and we're going to canvass and engage with parents at a bunch of schools that in our community, especially these schools that did not meet the didn't fill their seats for local school councils, because that's what we're looking for. We want parents to feel engaged and empowered. So yeah, we will be out there doing some canvassing to get that done. Um, I don't know, just thinking about that thing with Finger, just whew, that was something, because I see a lot of kids that walking to school, and I know Finger is in a community of homeowners who been in the neighborhood forever, been in their homes forever. And why would you not have involvement in a community like that? So, yeah, I don't like that. So, I'm going to do something about it. And that's just how it's going to go. Um, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things, is to remember the process to be voted on to fill a vacancy is it's actually pretty straightforward. Um, you fill out the forms, the same forms that you would if you were running. So it's going to be on cps.edu/LSC. There you will be able to find the forms. You fill them out actually at the school. If you go to a LSC meeting, you're moved to join
Don't
that
call me, I
school.
got some. Reach out to me.
Straight up.
I got
Um,
them on deck.
and can support you. Kendra, you it's like what you do is, supporting parents to fill those forms out, to get them turned into the school. Um, Once you do that, typically every school does it a little bit differently, but most schools will do a have you speak for about 2 minutes to just introduce yourself to the school community. Say what perhaps you love about, being a part of education or experience that you might have, right? Education isn't required, but if you studied, relevant studies or in school, talk about that. If you volunteer, or if you just bring your lived experience to the space, that is enough to be a part of the LSE.
Yeah.
And are some of the best candidates to be, council members, to be honest with you, are, those who, typically the system would, not encourage to be a part, that Kendra was just talking about, are some of the best parents, best community members, because they bring lived experience. They, have come up in the village and have experienced either firsthand or know someone who's experienced harm in, particularly Chicago public schools, but also how that extends to all the intersections, right? Of, housing and safety in our city, and just, a real desire for self determination to be adequately educated, you know. So when folks bring their whole passion and heart to the LSC, which we see often, we engage with a lot of those parents. I think you know that's the North Star. So once you go into the school, you share who you are, what your passion is. The LSC will then go into closed session. They will deliberate if there are multiple people, I think, running, and they will come out and having a vote in the open on whether or not they will appoint you to the LSC. Once they call your name, you are then at that moment a part of that local school council going forward. So again, for the schools that we just shared on the screen that have vacancies, they can vote you on at their organizational meeting that happens in the first 2 weeks of July, and you will then serve the remainder of the 2-year term with everyone else who was elected. But again, that school has a vacancy. It's a pretty straightforward process.
It's actually an easier process. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely want to, have this type of, strengthen our LSCs. Research data proves that when LSCs are, fully trained and understand, best practices and how to really, help support their school, um, high, high emphasis on fully trained. Some of the most recent, and I say this not to poke anyone in the eye, but some of the most recent FOIA data that we have says that about 5% of CPS principals who are automatically part of the LSC and hold, there's a power structure there. Only 5% of CPS principals, it may have shifted a little bit recently, have been fully trained on the LSC modules. So that tells us that in a lot of instances, when Kendra's getting phone calls at 7 or 11 at night, 7 in the morning or 11 at night, that those are folks who are struggling with the power, sometimes struggle with sometimes possibly a principal that hasn't been fully trained. So we really do want to encourage, as much as we talk about LSC members being fully trained, it is okay to ask your principal, whether you pull them aside and, ask if they have been fully trained, and encourage them to attend community training, community-based module training that can support their understanding. A lot of what we hear about dysfunction and possible conflict are schools where there's a difference of understanding of what's in the public law, the school code and also CPS policy. A lot of those tensions will be eliminated if LSCs attended their training, particularly with their principal and together, right? It's a best practice to go together for shared understanding.
You know, I have my theory of why principals don't get trained. And it really just goes to because they feel like they don't have to. They're the only the member that's automatically on the LSC, so they don't have to. That don't mean they don't need to, but that's just definitely what I picked up is that it's because they don't have to. So I would always say, you know, together, and then if you do them together, it'll kind of put the principal and the council on the same page
Hmm.
to where you know people don't feel like it's a puppet show. The best way I could see it, like you know, you feel empowered, you feel like we working together. It goes all with everything with the budget and the CIWP, and if we all getting the same training and the same understanding, then it's no argument. We all heard the same thing, right? So it's no dispute. So yeah, I encourage the councils to ask their principal to train with them.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
at a minimum, like some of the things, you know, we often hear is the principal won't share the full budget with the LSC. If uh, training is the process gap in a situation like that, it is repeated throughout the training that this is a collaborative process. No one LSC member has more power than the other to, fully commit to their fiduciary duties when it comes to that budget, that CIWP, excuse me, and evaluating the principal and determining their retention. And there are a myriad of other decisions, but those are the main ones. And so when we see the tussle for what's happening or what's causing conflict, and sometimes really degrading meetings to you know just mess, just a messy situation is, or a tense situation is because there's a lack of, just off the gate, we know that there's no, either it's a unintentional failure to follow policy or it's intentional. We lean on that it's training, and then if there's an unwillingness to do that training or to persist to not follow the policy in the school code, then that's when we encourage LSC members to not don't continue to engage in debate. Elevate that to the network chief. Hope to see you at the next board meeting to speak out on the issue. Challenge, the Office of Local School Council Relations to help support that principal in real time. And I think there are other district supports that should be able to help ensure that the policy and the law is followed, because I'm sure they wouldn't, those offices and higher supervisors wouldn't, go for not following the policy. And I guess the one thing that I was like, let's, you know, like, definitely don't want to paint this picture that this is happening at all schools. But again, even the schools that function well, we have plenty of examples of that. These are the schools that are hosting hybrid meetings because they realized from the pandemic that that's how they can get 100+ parents to participate in a meeting, is they have them in the school, and they also have them available to join from Google Meets or Zoom, or to be able to participate on YouTube.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like thinking from what we did with this teaching Tuesday is like, okay, not everyone can sit down and read the meeting minutes, but if we can make the meeting hybrid so that parents can participate, and they do, believe it or not, parents care about what's going on.
Yes.
So those are the schools that are doing the best. I don't know, do you have an example of where we see training like really helping LSCs like grow and be really highly efficient and effective?
Mm. It's not a school like. school wise, um, the training with Franklin was one that definitely made a difference. They hybrid. Uh, that winking owl is something. They use that. Um, I guess no, I'm not gonna say that school because it's not. Can't get them props yet. They gonna get that though. Our favorite high school. You know what I'm talking
Mhm.
about. Like we would hope that the the upcoming uh board. I mean, yeah, the upcoming LSC gonna get it right because they definitely are working towards that. But yeah, just the training with these schools and just conversations and people all being on the same page with, and they taking the trainings together
Mhm.
makes that difference. Definitely
Yeah. And I think one of the things too is that a lot of times parents will say, "Oh, I don't want to be on the LSC. It's too much stress." I'm gonna tell you the root cause of that stress on the LSC is the lack of training. So
does.
folks get into the meeting, they didn't do the pre-reads, or probably didn't have the time to do the pre-reads. Let's be honest, we're all busy, and so they come into the meeting, not being clear on where or what the discussion is around. That automatically creates anxiety, right? So we talk about there's things it's important to attend those meetings and to be present, but there's things that you can do to create norms, right? So like community agreements with your LSC, like, hey, no later than 4 days prior to the meeting, the principal will upload the budget documents, the internal account forms up to a Google Drive that only the LSC has access to, for the LSC to read through all of those documents, so that it's not being done real time in front of the school community, which takes up time. When everyone does that, those are the meetings that are seamless. There are LSC meetings that end in 59 minutes. And
Mhm.
I know that it is because they have done training together. They come to different trainings and community events. And I would say they probably attended a retreat or something because of the way they talk to one another.
Talk to one another. They work with one another. And it's
Right.
a thing, it's like even in any job. Like if everybody doing their job, things just gonna flow easy. And that's I mean what we would expect the LSCs to happen because if that's flowing easy, then things are flowing better in the school and the kids are learning and the teachers good and it all just trickle back all down to our kids getting what they deserve in these schools. So I will always say just go do it. It's not a lot. It seems like a lot, but it's not.
Yeah.
I
You know,
know that somebody threw that thing out there about 18 hours of module training and it sounds like a lot, but if you think about 18 hours within what a couple of weeks, it's not a lot. You can literally sit and you let it play while you cooking and you can listen and those things. But I do feel that it goes different with in-person training. I just think it's better. I think when you take those trainings online, that you don't get a feel of what really happens, and not just not the negative. Like I don't want people to think like because the experience that I witnessed for years was always a bad experience with LSCs, and it took some time to see it done correctly to just know and believe in that it can be done right if that's what we really are pushing towards. So the training, it makes a difference. And I feel like in person training, well, not in person, but a personal training, like we offering, is that tonight?
yes.
Yep, budget training tonight on
Yeah.
Zoom. We're going to drop that link for y'all too.
Yeah.
So,
I
yep,
have it here on the screen. It doesn't look the best with our photos here behind it.
I can see it
But
though.
yeah. Yeah, so budget training. As y'all know, we are in smack dab in the middle of CPS budget season, which means LSCs, principals first, and then LSCs were giving an abbreviated view of what they can anticipate for their school year 25 budget. Super important, as we are being told by the district quite often that we are headed towards a fiscal cliff with tight budget constraints for the upcoming school year. So if not in if nothing else, and that this hasn't been the practice in previous years, we want to share with you the module training, what the internal accounts expectations, what that looks like, how to help make decisions based off what you're seeing, how to find information yourself, and also we're going to share some best practices. The schools that have, as one example, the schools that have um, LSC budget subcommittees, they're very effective, right? Some of our more high performing, like I said, LSCs that get a lot done, they do so with sort of a spend plan that is created with their with through that LSC subcommittee. There's so much that goes into adequately approving and monitoring the school's budget. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We would love for y'all to join us. We're going to have that training today, 5:30, virtually held on Zoom. And yeah, it'll be a real treat for those who are also newly elected. While this won't count for you is in terms of your certified training because you haven't taken your seats yet, you are welcome to attend and learn about the process. It would be good for you to know by the time you take your seats, a lot of the decisioning for next school year will also be had. So this will be a great first time to touch it, and then you'll take an official module training once you are seated in July.
But it's a good because of the budget just coming out, and for those that are currently holding seats, it is a good thing to have. That training is good to have right now. I'm gonna be there. Oh yeah, and with the new funding formula, um, I don't know the word to use, but you'll learn a lot because of that. The way that they have chopped things up and the way the formula that they have out there now, you'll learn about that tonight. It's a very in-depth training that's going to give a lot of information of what we currently need to know moving forward with the budget, with everything just coming out and being new.
Yep. So I know we're like, coming up on our time to leave you with where we with what we've already shared. I do want to talk a little bit about we listened to, I guess, who did I say we listened to? I want to say this actually. Chinella Robinson, who's our LSC parent organizer, was featured on Reset with Sasha Ann. And that was yesterday. It's shared on our social media if you haven't already. It's about 16 minutes. It's a good podcast. I believe she's on with JP Polis, and one of the Ed reporters was really great. Her name is escaping me right now, but they had a conversation about LSC elections, why training is important, and also the question around what's the relationship between LSCs and the new first time ever Chicago elected Board of Education. um and so we were having some discussion about that. Kendra, I know you had some thoughts around what you think it should look like. I'm actually baffled that there's concern that the LSC or the ERSB won't actually be a dream come true. um yeah.
I'm not baffled by that. I can understand why, because the way that, and the again, the lack of information that's coming about the ERSB, yes. But the way that it shouldn't be a scary process, because we need parents that do know about local school councils. Like, wouldn't that be the best practice, to have parents, people with the lived experience on that board? And that's the best way that I can say that. Like, it should be, a like you said, a dream come true, that you got an elected school board, you got LSCs, you got all these people working together for what's best for our kids. And it should not be a discouraging thing. But I can also understand where the lack of trust is coming from, because if we have people that's in that seat that um, haven't lived it, you know, I really I always use the term the professional parent. So, you know, we got lawyers, and we have accountants, and we have all those people, and we have people like that right now that can afford to take that seat. But we got parents that's working, and, you know, just, it's not a thing that, you know, we can just give up our 9 to 5 jobs to work on that board. But I mean, you would think it would be ideal for to have a parent like myself. Um, no, I don't want to run. But a parent like me to sit on that board, to have that opinion, to have that lived experience about, you know, what's going on, and what we want to see, and be a part of that change. But again, um, it's just not. And I'm trying to use the words and not sound discouraging, because I don't want to discourage parents to not do it. But I also, you know, you have to be realistic. Like, these are things that, you know, we still have to live. You still have to be able to feed your family. And this should be a thing that, and I might be jumping above myself, but a paid position. It should be a thing, because we need to be a part of the change. We need to be a part of the change we want to see. And sometimes it's just not, won't work in I mean, a 2-parent household, let alone a single parent household, to make those things happen. So, hopefully, um, it will be a dream team of having those that's elected, and the LSCs working together to make this just a powerful school board, like a powerful thing for our kids.
Free game. If you are planning to run for the elected school board, if you are maybe interested in running for the elected school board, go to your LSC meetings.
Mm-hmm.
If you are on the fence, I find that when I go into a school, I'm like, oh, I just want to, let me see how I can engage, right? Oftentimes, Kendra, when you go to LSC meetings across the city, you come back with a phone number or someone you're connected to help them, to support them. Like, it's without fail.
Yep.
Go to those LSC meetings and have conversations with the parents. Introduce yourself during public comment. If you are a neighbor of the school, maybe you're not interested in running for elected school board, but now is a great time to get involved with what the school might need from you. You might have a talent. If you are a retired educator, or, a parent who has time to be, inside of the school, there's usually a need for volunteers. So again, just really want to encourage folks to participate. And again, for those people who are willing to run, LSCs have been around for some 30 years. There are people on LSCs today who have been on LSCs for over 20 years. That's a lot of knowledge to tap into. So I don't think that there should ever be concern for if the LSC or the ERSB needs to, um, box it out, if you
Right.
will. They really do. There's a lot of opportunity for synergy, historical impacts, and lessons learned. And so again, when those folks who represent their district understand those schools, I think they'll be better for it. I just want to quickly share my screen to share with you our new website that we are launching. So on Raise Your Hands website, under issue areas, you'll see we have a tab here, a page, landing page for elected school board. A lot of what we have shared, or what is also publicly known, but this is just kind of pulls everything together in one space. Whether you're curious about the election timeline and what to anticipate currently, we know that the opportunity for candidates who are interested in running, they will go and submit to get the petition forms, and are I believe those that are already out or announced they're running already have those petitions. I know there are a lot of parents and community members and retired educators who are considering running, but haven't yet done so. That process is open now. Would hope to motivate folks to make that decision, and move through in the process. One of the things that I'm really happy to share that we, listen, Raise Your Hand has been advocating for elected school board for so long. The energy, we have very high energy around supporting the process, no differently than we do for local school councils. However, we understand the magnitude of this opportunity to really have and move one step closer to a fully elected school board. Thanks to our amazing Jody Lacey, who's here on staff as our operations manager, created a map. So a lot of you may have seen, maps that sort of talk through or excuse me, that tell you, depending on where you live, what district you're in. Jody overlaid the CPS or district schools. So I encourage everyone who's interested, who's already, named or considering running, to visit our website. What you'll see here is all of the schools, depending on the district. And again, encourage you to go to those schools, make a concerted effort to attend those LSC meetings, the Parent Advisory Council meetings. If the school has, during this budget season, a lot of schools will actually have public budget and continuous improvement work plan, or CIWP address, sort of a state of the school address. So be looking out for that. Again, depending on where you are running in the city, we did an overlay of all the district schools that would sort of be within your control as an elected official. So again, encourage everyone. We will drop the link here in just a moment in the chat to enjoy that website, and encourage everyone to join us for upcoming events. Kendra, I want to do a quick overlay if you want to share a bit of what people are seeing on the screen.
Okay. So, the elective representative school board info session is tomorrow. It's held virtually. Spanish interpretation is available. This is tomorrow night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please register. Can we drop that link in the chat? To do that, we should be able
Yes.
to drop that link as well. That's what we have going tomorrow. And next we have, tonight we have the module 4, which is the budget module, and module 7, internal accounts, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. That is going also to be held virtual. Encourage you to join that Zoom tonight. We have module trainings May 1st at Inglewood Library, it's on 63rd, 1745 West 63rd Street, free parking. And that's also from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Inglewood Library, May 1st. And then May 8th, we have the roles, module training one, roles and responsibility, and principal evaluation. Spanish interpretation is available there. That's at the Humble Park Library, 1605 North Troy. Um, Free parking and light refreshments. Please register to join us at these module trainings. And Know Your Rights on Bullying. That will be Tuesday, April 23rd from 7 to 8 p.m. It's a virtual presentation. All these uh, links will be dropped in the chat. You can grab to join us. I believe that's it. Oh, that training is also in Spanish. So please join us um, April 23rd at between at 6 to 7 p.m. I just read that out wrong. But those links will be dropped in the chat. Um,
Yes. Let's see if there were, yeah, we would love for you all. Appreciate everyone who joins us each week. We know that you are passionate about education. You have stories and experiences. We would love to open this space up. If you are a parent, a CPS community member, an educator, a student that would like to join us, we're flexible on time. If there's an issue that we would love to, host with young people, we are happy to move the time to later in the day that can help accommodate their schedules. There's a lot of things that is going on right now. Check in on our social media, our events page. You can register for those events. We have dropped that in the chat. If you are also, one of the things that I just wanted to check on before we tap out is we're talking about democracy. Kendra, I know last week we went to Springfield to advocate for a bill, and we saw a lot of things there that just kind of reminded us of why participating in democracy is super important, whether it is the most hyper local way of on an LSC, but also to be able to know how democracy is happening around us. There's a lot of bills that are up that will impact and shift the way our schools serve our children. Some of these bills are very disappointing and deflating to see even entertained. Nevertheless, we are really trying to push for forward trajectory and movement and equity and self-determination. And some of these bills really stand against that. You want to share a little bit about your reflection from what you saw in Springfield?
yeah, I also spoke on that earlier too. Just saying that um, I the biggest thing for me of what I seen was like if we ask and we accept the bare minimum, that's what we get. And I think when we don't speak up and we don't join and we don't push for what our kids deserve, they won't get it. And we definitely seen that last week, like the like you said, the things that they was asking for and they were approving was like, like, and meanwhile we fighting for to make sure our kids don't get four cold nuggets, in the lunchroom. So yeah, just man, we have to um, join together and whew, I don't even know the word to use because I hate to say fight, but it's literally like what it is. It's like a battle of, we at bare minimum ask for what our kids deserve. And if you just, asking on a local, just we can't be quiet about it. That's just the biggest thing. Like, and I truly learned that last week. Like, they really get the simplest things that they ask for in these other school districts. So why can't we have that same thing? Yeah, like that was that. Oh yeah. We joined with our leaders meeting is, I didn't mention that in the up next, but April 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Right, April 30th. We are still trying to figure out our location, so the location is to be determined. But the parent leader meetings is a space to where we've been doing this for like the last year and a half, and just where it's, I want to say like a sounding board. The parents come together, we listen to the concerns. We got parents that come from the schools on the north side, west side, south side, and believe it or not, we all have the same plan to, fight for us, right, for our kids. And that's what we do at Raise Your Hand Parent Leaders meetings. They are actually very engaging, entertaining. You will definitely have a good time there. You're going to meet some people, you're going to learn some stuff, you're going to pass your card, you're going to talk about some things, and just know that we all in the city is, we come together for what's best for our kids. So I encourage y'all to come to our next leaders meeting, April 30th. Like I said, location to be announced.
One of the things that we can also just kind of drop here is we're going to talk about opportunities to join us. Like years ago, if everyone knows Joy Clendenning, everyone knows Joy. Joy said, "Hey, Natasha, brand new parent to the space. We're going down to Springfield to push for ERSB, elected representative school board." So we spent the time on the train. Joy spent the time on the train educating me because I really had no idea. I was new to coming back home and coming to the district as a parent, and learned a lot that day, and it really opened my eyes. So I think the very next week I was back down in Springfield, just kind of meeting with legislators, learning the process of introducing myself to my state rep, my state representative, and then branching out and having other conversations. Is an example of how we would love to open that up to other parents, not just in Chicago, but beyond Chicago city limits, that we would love to encourage you, like to jump on a train with us, carpool, to go down to Springfield and be a part of democracy, right? To be able to have a say in what it feels like to have a child, how your child and your family feels being in the school district, no matter where you are, no matter your zip code. Um, so look forward to seeing y'all at all of the upcoming events. We've dropped the link in the chat. Let's see, Kendra, you want to close us out?
Yep. I want to encourage everybody to come to all our stuff. uh, Join us for everything we get. It's very entertaining. It's very not well entertaining, but the information that you need will be there. Again, we got it's going across the stage. Don't CPS alone. Raise Your Hand is here to help. My email should be coming across that in a little bit too. I'm always available to engage and empower parents. Connect with me at any time. Like Natasha said, I take them at 7 o'clock in the morning, and emails and phone calls at 11 o'clock at night. So we're here. Join us for the events that we have, especially well, not especially, but tonight. Definitely join us for the module budget and internal accounts training. And I guess we see y'all next week. Teaching Tuesday. Peace.